Hello guys, good morning. Still people are joining. Okay, let us start the session with quick recap. I'll use this to recap. And last class, we talked about advantages of cloud computing. Simply why cloud computing, why we need it. Yes, cost saving. There are many cost saving, easy management, very importantly, flexibility or elasticity. Yeah, mobility, advanced security, 24 by 7 availability, loss prevention, yes, there is redundancy, quality control, all these things. So there are a list of advantages for choosing cloud computing versus our keeping our data, our servers within our own data center. And there are many. And we also talked about definitions like what is cloud, how many types of cloud are there, service models, types of cloud, and essential characteristics of cloud. Yes, SaaS, IaaS, PaaS. Coming to service models, software as service, platform as a service, and infrastructure as a service. And coming to types of clouds, there are public cloud, private, community, hybrid, right? And examples of SaaS. So let's start with this infrastructure as a service. So what is this example? Give me one example of infrastructure as a service. Virtual machines, Docker, yes, Docker, Docker, simply Docker, Kubernetes, all these are containers, container services. and virtual machines. Platform as a service examples. There are many. Yes, AWS, these container services, virtual machines, also provided by AWS. So AWS, Azure, GCP are mainly into providing infrastructure as a service, and PaaS, that is platform as a service. There are many platforms as a services, databases, uh, web development platforms. And we have many machine learning for analytics, simply we say analytics platforms, IoT platforms. There are many. Just give me a minute, guys. Okay, those are the things we have talked about. And also, we talked about roles of solution architect. Very important to understand because we are here to learn things related to our solution architect certification. EAAS falls under which service model? EAAS means E stands for okay. Say roles and responsibilities of solution architect. Say cloud solution architect. So cloud solution architect designs and plans first of all solution, and after that he is the one responsible to manage and maintain non-functional requirements like cost optimization, maintaining availability, redundancy, fault tolerance again comes under redundancy. So those are some non-functional examples. So no problem there. Equipment as a service. Equipment as a service means again it comes under here only, right? Infrastructure as a service, equipment as a service means more or less it comes under here, infrastructure as a service. Okay. So those were the things we talked in our last class. We also talked about global infrastructure of AWS, which we are going to talk again in detail. because it's very important to understand before starting with cloud, AWS cloud. So let us go to this presentation and look into here. So mainly we have to know about regions, availability zones, local zones, and the wavelength zones. And these local zones are new entrants. They have introduced these two in this year, and I think in Jan of this year they have started this. So these are not of free tier, but if you are interested to know about local zones and AWS wavelength zones, we can try how they work, how we can provision them, and we have edge locations. So let us look into the global infrastructure of AWS. This is how AWS looks, and it is worldwide. It is present worldwide around 24 regions, and it has many availability zones and edge locations. And recently they have launched something called as local zones and the wavelength regions or wavelength zones. So AWS has a concept of region, which is nothing but a physical location where AWS data center is there, data center or cluster of data centers. And in each country, in some location, they have their data center and they call it as AWS region. And further, they have divided this region. This region is nothing but their cluster of data centers. And further, they have divided this region into something called as availability zones. And if you take Mumbai region in our country, AWS has set up their data center in Mumbai, and they are also trying to launch it in Hyderabad. It will come soon. And in Mumbai region, their data centers are there, and they have divided their cluster of data center into three what availability zones. These availability zones are nothing but these data centers separated by considerable amount of distance. Okay, and if you see, all traffic between AZs is encrypted. The network performance is sufficient to accomplish synchronous replication between AZs, availability zones. And AZs make partitioning applications. So we will talk about this. And this is what I'm saying, considerable distance. It will be around 100 kilometers or more, the distance between the availability zones. And these availability zones has different networking, different power connectivity. Why? Because the idea is, if something happens with one availability zone, other availability zones will be active. Say maybe some power problem, power related problem, network related problem, some maintenance is happening in availability zone 1, then your application will not experience the downtime because you always have availability zone 2 and 3. And this concept is there, and recently they have added something called as local zones. So why availability zones? You can see you'll get redundant power because there is separate power lines for each of these availability zones, and redundant networking and low latency links, and all these availability zones are connected with each other with a low latency network links. And isolated failure areas available in lower risk flood plains. So when they are setting these availability zones, that is cluster of data centers, they have ensured that they are uh, risk free regions from floods and all, and reduce possibility of single point failure. So that's about availability zones. And coming to this, one more thing we have to talk about this region and availability zone. Every region and availability zone will have a name given by AWS. We are talking Mumbai region, right? If you take Mumbai region code is, sorry, this is not a Mumbai region code. Let me edit it. AP hyphen South hyphen 1. This is Mumbai region's code, guys. Like this, every region will have a code. Imran Ali, can we get this PPT? Yes, if you have an LMS and also recorded videos, if you have this LMS account, then all this presentation and the recorded videos will be available there. You can access them there. Okay. And this is Mumbai region code, and availability is all. One is called as AP South 1A, like that 1B and 1Z. I do have, but as management said, we can't provide. Okay. Um so if you have opted for AWS course, then in the LMS, the related recordings as well as this PPT will be available. Let me check and get back to you, Ali. As of my knowledge, that is a procedure. So if you are opted for AWS course, let me check.
Good morning, ma'am. Actually, they have my course is professional data science course.
Okay.
Yeah, so they have just they said it's a value added session, so we cannot provide this recorded videos for this. So
Okay.
can you,
Maybe that is the reason.
yeah, maybe. So can you at least provide this PPT so that we can check it out like after some time, or to revise.
Okay. I don't know. I have to check with the team, Ali. If it is possible, I'll definitely do that.
Please kindly, ma'am, kindly, please. Thank you.
Uh, yeah. Yes, availability zones. We are talking about them. This is every region will have a code and then availability zones. So here we are talking about something called as local zones, which is a newly introduced one. For that, I'll go to AWS itself. So this is value added session. So is we got certificate at last. Okay. Yes, regions. There are 25 launched regions and 7 announced regions, and there are around 25, not 24, 25 geographic regions all around the world. And these regions means countries. And maybe within a country there might be two regions also. And then availability zones we are talking about, there are 81 availability zones. And then there are 5 local zones. They have introduced this local zones concept, as I said, in this year only. That's why there are 5 only. They are still working on it. They will add more local zones. So, what are these local zones? Are nothing but extension of this availability zone. And these local zones are for applications that require single digit latency. That means super fast applications. Suppose if you take applications like OTT platforms, Netflix, Amazon Prime, all these things, they want more speed. So AWS says that their availability zones are connected between each other with low latency links and all, but they say that they require more speed, single digit latency, not single digit millisecond latency. If you have your application in this local zone, then AWS is giving that assurance it will be super fast. Our network will be super fast, and your application will just load up when client request for anything in just single digit millisecond. And when they introduce any new thing, they start from North Virginia. So what is difference between availability zone and local zone? Availability zone is there already. It's AWS data center, and now they have extended this and added something called, you can say, another small portion of data center is provisioned with super fast network, and they call it as local zone. Availability zone is there for regular. If you go create your web application in AWS, you can launch your server in any one availability zone. Suppose your requirement is the application running on your server has to be super fast from all around the world, from any part of the world. If client is accessing your web application, means it he should get that web application within that single digit millisecond. Then instead of keeping your server in availability zone, launch it in local zone. Okay. And there are 5, I said that they are newly introduced. Let me go to my management console. You cannot find them in any region except in North Virginia, because that is AWS home center. And if you look in this global infrastructure map, where is North Virginia? Is there any list here? Let's say availability zones. No, list is not there. Okay, North Virginia has 6 availability zones. They say 4 in India. No, serial number is 4, sorry. These are list of regions, list of regions and their availability zones. So Virginia has 4. No, it has 6. So Virginia has 6 availability zones, not 4. Okay. So here you can find that availability, and sorry, not availability zones, local zones, where you cannot find in this list. So here you can see only the code. When you are creating a server, if you create in any other region, suppose say if you launch your server in Mumbai region, you will get option of, it will ask you to choose one of the availability zone. Whereas you create the server in Northern Virginia, then it will ask you to choose, not only you have an option of choosing local zone also. So their local zone option is there, and there are 5 local zones. And then wavelength zones. You can see these local zones and wavelength zones are for ultra low latency applications. And these wavelength zones are especially for 5G users. And these days we have all the things on our smartphones, and 5G has been introduced in recent times. So with this, AWS has also become proactive and set up some zone. Again, this zone is nothing but a data center, and they are calling it as wavelength zone. So what is this wavelength zone? This wavelength zone is nothing but they are keeping their data center nearer to 5G infrastructure so that they can improve that speed. And that's why they say that these two are for ultra low latency applications. Right, let's go back to our presentation. And what does AWS availability zone mean to you? Suppose you have created one virtual machine, and AWS calls it as EC2, Elastic Cloud Compute, EC2. You have created a virtual machine on AWS. Why? Because you want to make it as a server, or front end server, or back end server, or just you want a virtual machine for testing of for your application. It's just a computer where you can create it and get virtual access of it. You have infrastructure as a service, and it belongs to infrastructure as a service. You have created one virtual machine on AWS. Then what AZ mean to you is, AZ, availability zone, is the location where your EC2 is there, and you don't know exactly where it is, which rack it is, which hardware it is. AWS will not provide you with all those details. The only thing you know that in Mumbai region, I have one virtual machine and it is there in AP South 1B. So that is the availability zone code. That means in that data center, in that availability zone data center, you are using some hardware, you are accessing some hardware and using that virtually. And local zones, see, local zones are extensions of availability zones. So this is region, and AWS already has a availability zones, and they have newly extended these availability zones, and they have added a small portion to them called as local zones, and they have provided a super network connectivity with these local zones, especially for latency sensitive applications. So this is explains AWS wavelength, AWS region, and wavelength zone, and this is 5GB, that is 5G network. Nothing, AWS is moving closer to this 5G network so that the connectivity will be fast. So those are wavelength zones. If you feel that your application has to be there in the wavelength zone because more users are there who are accessing your applications via mobile, you have launched a web application which streams video or e-commerce site or any other web application, and after a year or so, your analytics, your statistics say that most of your users, around 60% of your users accessing your web application through their phones. Then what you can do, you can set up your servers in wavelength zone. And edge locations. These edge locations, you cannot opt any edge location. Like in a region, you can switch between the regions, you can choose your own availability zone, local zone, and wavelength zone. These edge locations are maintained by AWS. It's a distributed network, and we call them as CDN, content delivery networks. They are used for CDN, content delivery. These edge locations are all around the world, and there are 218 plus edge locations. It can be more also, they will be increasing. What the purpose of edge location is? Content delivery, as I said. uh, Suppose we took an example somewhere in India, in Mumbai, there is a server, and a person from here is trying to access it, or from here trying to access the server, and another guy in the same country is trying to access web application from that server. Who will get it fast? Obviously the guy who belongs to the same country, because of the distance. And to avoid that, there is something called as content delivery network, and there it is a distributed network present all around the world. And the regions where these content delivery networks are there, they will cache the content in their memory. And these edge locations are purple ones, right? All are edge locations. So it's a mini data center. Let us say the blue is a region, and purple is the edge location, and this blue is the region from where the request is coming from the client. So from this region, a client is sending request to this region's data center. And what your edge location will do is, for the first time, the response will go from the server all back to here for very first time. And the same request, if it is made by the second person, third person, or 100th person belonging to the same region, then that request will not go to the server. Instead, it will go to edge location. So this edge location monitors the traffic going to this server, and they are distributed all around the world. They keep an eye on your traffic, and whenever the response comes back, they will save that response in their memory. They'll cache that in their memory, in their cache memory, save that. And then when there is second request, then it will not go to the Indian server. Instead, it will go to that edge location where that content delivery network is there, and response will go there to the region, to the client. So for this to happen, there should be many CDNs, content delivery networks, all around the world. And yes, there are many. And if you go and check here, 230 plus points of presence and 218 plus edge locations and 12 regional edge caches. So all these things are there. All these things are used for that CDN, content delivery network. Not only content delivery network, for fast acceleration of if you have a S3 bucket and there is some image file or video or audio clips which has to be streamed in the S3 bucket, and you want that to happen very quick, then you can opt for something called as transfer acceleration. So in such scenarios also, AWS uses those 230 plus points of presence locations. And that's about AWS global infrastructure, guys. Any doubts in this? Okay, now let us go to AWS and start off with creating one service. So if you see, this is AWS services, AWS console, and here you will have recently visited services and all, and it's very intuitive. No need to go to each and every tab. And AWS provides 1 year free trial, but you will have certain limits. And to know about the limits, you can say AWS free tier, awsamazon.com/free, and you can check in here free tier limits. So Amazon EC2 is a virtual machine, and you can run your virtual machine for free for 750 hours per month. Amazon S3 is a object storage, and you can have 5 GB of standard storage for free. And same thing with the database, 750 hours per month. And you can see what all the services will be listed out here with their free tier limits. You can go and check here. And how to create account in AWS. So suppose say sign into the console. I'll go to my incognito window. Get started for free. Create a free account. Here there are 5 steps. You have to give your email address, password, etc. AWS account name. If you see, this is my AWS account name. This is not my AWS account. I am using company provided AWS account. So multiple people will be using this account. This is the account name and the region where your account, suppose if you deploy anything here, create any service, where that service will be created right now in North Virginia. If I don't want that, if I want my service to be in Mumbai, you can switch between these regions. Okay, going here. So just give in your email address, some password. Account name. Anyway, this account name has to be unique name. Just give any AWS account name here, and it's very intuitive. If you go and look into this, change the mail. Okay. And step two is your contact information. You have to provide all these things. Let us say this is for personal, for our own projects. Give a full name. So these entered details are already there. So just go and check. It's about filling the details. And I think at step 3 or step 4, you will be asked about your credit card details. and Visa, MasterCard, credit cards will work. Try with debit cards also. These days, debit cards also working. Previously, they used to accept only credit cards. Any Visa and MasterCards. If you have other things, say RuPay, they will not work. Only Visa and MasterCards will work. You have to give those things because just in case if you go beyond your free tier, for that reasons AWS will ask your credit details, but they will not deduct anything without your consent. And to just test the information which you have given, they will deduct some 2 rupees or so, which they will refund back. And go through this procedure, create a AWS account, and you will get 12 months 12 months free, but within certain limits. Logged in, okay. And those limits are more than enough to practice and to get to know about AWS.
I have one doubt. Like after 1 year, will they charge? Like
N-
we are already providing our details, so it will automatically cut or like what?
no, no, they will ask you to upgrade. If you won't, if you have don't want to upgrade it, they will suspend your account. They will not charge, they will suspend your account. You cannot log into your account after 1 year. If you won't upgrade, if you want to upgrade, if you want to use your AWS account as a pay as you go basis, you can opt for it. Okay. And now if you go here, this is AWS console, and here AWS, when you click on this, you will be navigated to the home page. Services, all the services provided are listed out here. And here, this is AWS CLI, AWS Cloud Shell. Let me close this. Yeah. And notification icon here. And here, this is your account name. And this is a root account, personal account. You can also create your organization account. You can check your service quotas here also. You can check your billing dashboard. Right now, if I'll go to my billing dashboard. So some bill has is there for using Route 53. Okay. So here you can see your billing and also for which services you have been charged for. And you can also check in detail. You'll have this. Going back here, and from which region you are operating your console. Right now it's from North Virginia. I can switch to another one.
Sorry,
Support
sorry,
center.
ma'am. One more thing I want to ask. Like, if we exceeded like more than 750 hours, then also after that also they will charge, or like they will again ask. Like
They
just
will
now you got,
charge.
just now
They
you
will.
got a,
Yes, yes.
just now you got a mail that billing. Okay, after exceeded they will charge, or like how we will know that like we are exceeded our.
You will not receive any email or something when you are charged. AWS at the end of the month will tell you that you have send a mail that there is some bill you have to pay. You have to pay. They will not automatically deduct also. If you won't pay, they will suspend your account. That's it. The only way to check your bills is go to your billing dashboard and check there.
Yeah, yeah. Okay,
If
ma'am.
you want to receive any emails, then you can create a budget here. A monthly budget I have. And here you can configure it to send any notification. If you can set some threshold, if it meets that threshold, you will get a notification through email or SMS. You can opt for that. But again, it's not free. If you want to get that notification or email, there is some minimal charge will be there for having budget alarms.
Okay.
Okay, you'll get notification for over usage. Okay, over usage means monthly. If there is a bill, they will ask you to pay the bill. You'll get multiple notifications saying that if you won't pay the bill, they will suspend your account like that.
No,
Suppose
ma'am.
yes.
I think when you use 750 hours on the free trial, once you'll exceed, you will get notified on that very time when you will try to access. You have already exceeded that 750 hours, and from now on, go and pay charge will be applicable. I heard because my friend is using the same thing.
Okay. Uh, yeah, that you will get it in console, right? You'll not get it on mail. Will you get it on mail?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. No,
Uh,
ma'am. It's just while accessing you will get.
while accessing, yes. So to mail, you won't get it. So when you are accessing your console, if you have exceeded, you'll get that warning message when you try to create or when you log into your AWS, suppose EC2. If you go to EC2 console, that warning message will be there. But email notifications, suppose you have exceeded your 750 hours, they will not explicitly mention you sending a mail that you have exceeded the 750 hours. Yes, thank you. Okay, let us go to EC2. We will start off with EC2 first. And while talking about AWS introduction, not only AWS, cloud introduction, we talked about what actually cloud provides. Cloud provides compute power for the application. Cloud provides storage, database for the application, and you will have an option of networking. You can create your own virtual private network, which is called as VPC, and how to distribute it, all other things. So we will get to know what those things mean. What does that compute power mean? We will start with EC2. So one EC2 is already running. As I said, this account is not my personal account. It will be used by multiple people. Let us stop it. And this is EC2 console. And the first one on my left pane is EC2 dashboard, events, tags, limits. What is this EC2? EC2 is virtual machine, creating a virtual machine. And how you can do that? You can go to your EC2 dashboard and say launch instance. And this is the first step. Let me open this. Creating a EC2, we have steps in it. So let us map the steps to our real computer. If you want a computer, what you'll do, you'll buy your computer. And instead of buying a computer, here what we are doing, we are renting that from AWS. And AWS will provide a way to virtually access that computer. You can connect virtually and start working with that computer. So virtual machine, and it is elastic in nature. nature. That's why they are called as EC2. Suppose if you are going and buying a computer, the first thing what you'll do is, what you'll do guys, if you want to buy a computer, what you'll
Check the
check.
configuration. What is the configuration of the computer?
Yes, what is the configuration of the computer? That is the CPU and RAM, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, configuration of computer. The same thing here also we will do, but in the second step, AWS asks you to choose configuration, that is CPU plus RAM, and it call it as choose a instance type. And they call everything as instance: EC2 instance, storage instance, database instance. Instance is some service that is there created on AWS. They call it as instance. Choose a instance type, which configuration you want. There are some list of instance types, you have to choose one. And then after buying a computer, second thing what you'll do, these days our laptop has inbuilt operating system. Otherwise you'll boot up your computer with operating system. And that is our first step. This operating system, AWS calls it as AMI, Amazon Machine Image. Choosing this AMI is our first step. And then suppose in this configuration, you'll also choose your space, that is hard disk. But here we will list out in the third step. Third step is like, suppose if you want to increase the space, you always have that option. You can bring in the external hard disk, or if it is that CPU. While buying itself, you can customize it and you can add more storage to it. We'll say hard disk. And here, third step, we will come to third step. Fourth step is storage. And then we have fifth and sixth steps also. So let us go to console. And so that we can relate to this. So we are renting a computer from AWS. And AMIs, we know what are AMIs. AMIs, Amazon Machine Images, or the operating system. So to boot up that operating system into your virtual machine, we call something like image. Image has to be there. And they have created such images, and all those images are there on my screen. And the name is Amazon Machine Images. And there are three types of AMIs. My AMIs, which means your own AMIs. That doesn't mean that you can create your own operating system. Suppose you have created a virtual machine EC2, and you want it to make a server EC2. It's a server machine. You have installed the necessary applications on it, and your data related to your server application, and also the scripts related to your server application. Everything is there on that machine. After everything is done, you want more servers like that. Why? Because it's going into production environment. So far this virtual machine has been in development phase. Now it will go for testing or production. Not that single server, you want more servers, same which has the same web applications and data on it. Then you can create a AMI of your own, which is a copy, a bootable copy of that server which you have configured. That is my AMI, your own AMI, your private AMI. And you have AWS Marketplace, community AMIs. On top of that, first we will have this quick start. And this quick start is a place where popular AMIs, most used AMIs are listed out. And here you have this free tier eligible option. If you chose free tier eligible, free tier only, you will get only free tier eligible AMIs. And there is AWS Marketplace. And here are also the AMIs. You have Windows AMIs, Linux AMIs, CentOS, all these AMIs are there. Even Mac is also available in AWS. Mac OS AMI is also there. So all these things will be there in AWS Marketplace. Here you will get a mix of free tier eligible and also not free tier eligible. So Marketplace is the where all the AMIs will be there. It's a marketplace where AWS sells, displays all its AMIs to us. That is AWS Marketplace. Community AMIs. These community AMIs, you see, again the same, a community specific AMIs if you want. If you want to, suppose if you are particular about using Red Hat, you want to know about the Red Hat distributions, you can go and check here. Those are community AMIs. And here we have one more AMI in AWS Marketplace. These are all the categories. So this is WordPress certified by Bitnami. It runs on Linux, OpenVPN access server, and suppose if you take Cisco, Cisco has created one AMI for its employees to work with. Suppose Cisco has their work environment on AWS, and the related applications, software, etc., which are required to work with those things, they have created one AMI, and they keep that AMI here in AWS Marketplace only. And they will ask their employees to go and create EC2 mission using that AMI. Such type of AMIs are also available. So they will be there in community AMIs. No, community AMIs or this one in marketplace only. In marketplace only, you will find those kind of AMIs also. Going back to quick start, we will start off this first one. Amazon Linux 2 AMI, HVM, SSD volume type, and the other details. It's a 64-bit ARM processor. When you opt for this AMI, you are getting a Linux machine, a Linux operating system. As HVM stands for, it's something related to virtualization. AWS uses something called as hypervisor, and HVM stands for that hypervisor. Let us go and launch this Amazon Linux EC2. Select this. And second step, choose instance type. Choosing your hardware configuration. And there are different types of families. If you observe, AWS calls something called as T2. So this is T2 family. T2 family is general purpose family. If your application is a general purpose application, then you can go and launch T2 instance. That is the CPU and RAM which you are getting with this T2 instance is sufficient for a general purpose web application. Suppose your application involves compute intense things like machine learning, then you can go for C family. If you go for C family, you have different sizes. In each family, again, you have sizes: large, XL, double XL, like this. If you
Uh,
look into, yes,
Ma'am, whatever we are learning in data science, so like if we have to run any algorithm in, so we have to choose T2 or C4. Which one to choose? Just if you know something related to that for machine learning.
T2. For machine learning, it depends.
Hmm.
It depends upon your algorithm. If your algorithm is compute intense, it needs more compute power. Suppose you want your algorithm will also run in T2 and C4. If you run your algorithm in T2, it would be bit slower. Whereas if you run in your algorithm in C4, it will be more faster.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Why? Because this is your virtual CPU and memory. In T2 family, if you go for T2.small and T2.micro is free tier eligible, that's why whenever you do anything, you will opt either T2.micro or other T4.micro is also available for free trial, but not in this region. That's why they are grayed out. So T2.micro is free tier eligible. So if you observe T2.small, you'll get one virtual CPU. By choosing T2.small, what I'm saying is, I am getting is one virtual CPU and 2 gigs of memory. Sorry. And a low to moderate network performance. These are the things about this T2. So if my computer is of T2 type, that means my computer has one CPU and 2 gigs of memory. And its network performance is also low to moderate. Suppose if my same instance, if I wish to launch in C4, say C4 small is not there, let us say C4 large. I'll get two CPUs, 3.75 gigs of memory, and now the network speed is moderate. That's why we say for compute intense applications, go for C4. Suppose if it is memory, some application needs more memory, then you have M family. See, the memory is 8 GB. You'll get the same two CPUs, but 8 gigs of memory. Here, 32 gigs of memory and 8 CPUs. And you'll get up to 10 gigabytes of network, which is of speed network. And there are different families like that. According to your application, you can choose your instance types. Let us go to the free tier eligible one, T2.micro. And you can see T2 instance provides a baseline level of CPU performance, ability to burst above the baseline. So let us launch this. Next, third step, configure instance details. This is also configuration detail, but this is not your hardware configuration. This is more related to how you are buying your computer, how you want to buy it on, uh, say you will have a different plan. Suppose you want to buy an internet connection for your home, so they will offer you different plans. They will say that you pay for a yearly basis, monthly basis. In the same way, here also we are renting a computer, and AWS offers lot many things on how you want your computer on AWS. First one is how many computers you want, how many instances you want. You can specify it here. Purchasing option. You can request for spot instances. There are different types of pricing models in AWS. The regular pricing model is called as on-demand pricing model. The regular pricing model, if you don't choose anything, that means your computer, your EC2 uh, will be launched in an on-demand pricing model. If you don't want that, if you want your computer virtual machine for cheaper prices, you have an option here called request spot instances. If you enable that, these things will open up. Here you can see availability zone and current price. And in this availability zone, current price is some $0.0037, and you can set maximum price. I'll say that $0.05 is my maximum price. So what is happening here? AWS, to make its unused resources effectively, to making use of them, they will provide them for very cheap prices. And this is current price, today's price. If I look at this tomorrow, there would be a different price. And you can get your server for that price. That's why they are called a spot instance. And here you will bid a price. So I am bidding that the maximum price I can give for this instance is 0.05. But it doesn't mean that I will be paying 0.05. I'll be paying this current price only. If this changes tomorrow, I'll pay tomorrow's price. Maybe day after tomorrow, there will be a different price. That price will be charged for that hours per hour. This is per hour pricing. I can set a maximum price. So with maximum price, what I'm saying is when your current price, because it's varying, maybe after 2 days or 4 days after a week, if it is more than or equal to 0.05, then I don't want this instance. And also one more thing AWS uses for allotting the spot instances, bidding. They will also look into the maximum price. So if some other guy has set a maximum price more than me, then chances of him to get this spot instance is high than me. I have given 0.05. If other guy says 0.5, then he might get that spot instance. So that's how the spot instance pricing model will work. And other pricing models are there. You can reserve instances. We will talk about them later. So we are not choosing this spot instance because we are getting this for free. And then network, subnet, auto assign public IP, where you want your EC2. At this point of time, we will go with default things. That means which network. I'll go with Mumbai's default network, Mumbai default VPC. Subnet, which subnet? We will go with a default subnet, any preference. No preference means any availability zone. There are three, 1A, 1B, 1C. We are saying that launch in any availability zone. Auto assign public IP. Use subnet setting. By default, subnets for subnet IP will be enabled, or you can explicitly mention enable public IP. That means your EC2 instance will get a public IP address. Otherwise, if you disable it, you will not get public IP address. Enable this. Placement group, capacity reservation, we will talk about these things later when talking about pricing models. And those are the things. So we will talk about all of these things later. For now, we will launch an instance with the basic configuration. We have configured. We know that it's going to be in Mumbai's network, and it's going to be launched in one of Mumbai's availability zone. Next, add storage, which is your hard disk or hard drive. For this OS, Linux 2, Amazon Linux 2, 8 GB of root volume is enough. If you go for Windows, it will be 30 GB of root volume. If you go for Ubuntu, there will be 10 GB of root volume. So this root volume is like your C drive in Windows, which is mandatory. That operating system specific files, etc., will be there here. Your operating system will be there in your root volume. You cannot decrease it. If you try to decrease it, it will not work, but you can modify it. Suppose you want to increase the size of your root volume, yes, to 10 GB, yes, you can do that. But 8 GB has to be there. You can add more volumes, that means more hard disks. And AWS calls this storage type as EBS. And EBS stands for Elastic Block Storage. It will occupy 8 GB if we give the size from our system. No, we are not giving anything from our system. We are creating one virtual machine. For that, this is a procedure. Choosing an AMI, all these things. After these steps are done, I'll get a virtual machine from AWS. That computer, hardware, etc., network will be maintained by AWS. You'll get virtual access. You'll virtually connect to it. So this storage type is called as EBS, Elastic Block Storage. And for each and everything, AWS adds something called as Elastic. Why? Because you can modify it at any given point of time. Suppose you want, after creating this EC2 instance, if you want to add a new volumes, you can. If you want to modify the size of this volume or size of the root volume, you can. They are elastic in nature. And it's a block storage. That's why Elastic Block Storage. And here, what is which type of volume you want? It is general purpose SSD. See, SSD is a storage type. You have a magnetic storage, which is the old one. Uh, these days we are using SSD. If you look into the configuration of your hard disk inside your laptop or something, or CPU, you'll find that it belongs to SSD group. SSD, HDD, iSCSI we say. So these are the types of hard disks. So this volume type asks you to choose the volume type, and you have group 2 SSD, group 3, IO1, IO2. So what is difference is, let us go to group 3. The IOPS is different. IOPS stands for input output processing per second. That is different. If I go to general purpose 2, it is 100 IOPS per second and burstable. It can extend up to 3000 IOPS per second. In ideal scenarios, it's 100 IOPS. And between these groups, that is the difference. If you go to this one, group 3, 3000 IOPS. And then HDD. Cold HDD means if you want to store anything in this EC2 for very long period of time, then you can get this EBS for cheaper prices if you opt for cold HDD. Then normal prices. EBS is a storage, and AWS will charge some amount for that EBS storage. Suppose you are using this virtual machine for storage, not for having your front end server or back end server. You want this EC2 to store some data, uh, to archive some data, and you know that you are going to keep that for very long period of time, then you can go for cold HDD. And we have throughput optimized HDD, where your throughput is a different one. Throughput that volume can support. And coming back to general purpose, and you can see free tier eligible customers can use up to 30 GB of EBS either of SSD or magnetic storage. So this magnetic storage is a old storage. If you look back, before laptops, we used to you have our desktops. Then this hard disk used to have some magnetic disk like thing. It used to rotate every time whenever you run your computer. That is magnetic kind of storage. If you want that, this is also free tier eligible. So we will go with general purpose group 2.
Like floppy disk, are you talking about, ma'am?
Not floppy disk. Yeah, floppy disk is like your external storage. So inside your CPU also you used to have that kind of storage. Let me say magnetic storage. Like this. These kind of storage which supports the CD-ROMs also. These days your laptops will not support this, right? Why? Because the storage type is SSD now, it's not magnetic. So these are magnetic type of storage. Imran Ali, can we have? Yes, actually, I'm going to conclude this session within 5 minutes. That's why I didn't give a break. Okay, and within 5 or 10 minutes, we'll conclude it. Okay. So after launching our instance, we'll conclude this session. If you want extra EBS, and be careful with size, let us keep it as only 1 GB because 30 GB is the max you can have in your free tier. And here you have one more option, delete on termination. Termination means deleting your EC2 instance, virtual machine. Do you want EBS to get deleted or do you want to keep it? So if you want to keep the data, even after deleting your computer virtual machine, don't enable it. So I'll enable this. Next, add tags. You can skip this, but tags are some metadata or data which provides more information. Why throughput is not applicable? This throughput means, again, it is related to processing. You can see specified for streaming optimized volumes. So this is not for this EBS type. There are different EBS types again. So this throughput is related to your processing speed. So for this general purpose SSD, it's not applicable. Next, add tags. Tags will give you the more data related to this mission, this EC2 instance. Suppose this is a server, you can provide what type of server like this, which team is working with it. Not only this, tags not only help you to easily identify. If you have your tags, suppose one guy has came newly into the project and he the project, the group of people in the project are already working with this EC2s, then he can easily know if that extra information is there. Let us add a tag, role of this EC2. It's a production server. And which team is working with it? App development or testing. Those things. If you are using for storage, whether it's a front end server, back end server, all these kind of information you can add. And that is one advantage. And one more advantage is when you're using CLI, command line interface, you can easily access, filter out instances based on tags, and also you can apply policies, which we are going to learn later, using these tags. Next, security group. Configure security group. The security group has only one rule, SSH. So what is this security group is? A firewall for the network. We have this network firewall, right? In the same way, this security group is like that firewall. And in this security group, you can specify what traffic you are allowing into your EC2 instance and what traffic goes out of your EC2 instance. And by default, you can send anything outside, that means from your EC2 instance. And all the rules are denied, all the traffics are denied to come into your EC2 instance. So let us see what it is. Suppose this is a server. I am creating a server. And my server has only one rule in its security group. That means it can have only this traffic, SSH traffic. Suppose someone says HTTP slash my IP address. So this instance cannot receive that. Why? Because there is no HTTP rule. HTTP. Now it can receive. Suppose it is not my front-end server. It's not my application server. It is my database server, and MySQL database is running on this instance. So after launching this instance, I'll install MySQL database in it. And people should be able to write queries to this database. Then I should add a role saying that allow MySQL or MySQL Aurora. You can see Redshift is there, Oracle RDS is there, PostgreSQL is there. Let's say MySQL. So now people can access the database. Let us add HTTP rule. Because we want this to be as a web server. So that's why we have added a HTTP rule, right? And here, if you see 0.0.0.0/0, what is this, guys? Can you guess?
It's an IP octet, I think.
IP of?
IP octet means
Yes,
You have to
exactly. It's
assign an
an
IP, I think. Have to assign an IP or it should
yes,
be
it's
always
an
zero
IP
zero.
octet. It should be 00. This one. Yes, this is IP octet exactly. IP octet of internet. If you look into your IP address, the same format will be there. 4 octets like this. And this is a IP octet, we call it as cider block of internet. So with this rule, what we are saying is allow SSH traffic through TCP port from internet. Allow HTTP traffic through port 80 from internet. And this thing mean this extension IPv6 addressing. This is IPv4 addressing. If you add this, it becomes IPv6 addressing. That's it. And this SSH is for virtual access. After launching this instance, how you will connect with it? Virtually. And this SSH provides that virtual access to your computer. Suppose your computer need to receive HTTP traffic from the internet, then this has to be the rule. And you can also custom the source. We will talk about this later. Next, review and launch. The final step. Launch instance. An instance will be launched. And how to connect with this, we will talk about that in tomorrow's session. So let us wind up what we have done. We have chosen our OS first, that is AMI, and then your configuration CPU plus RAM, that is the second step. And third step is your configuration again. But this configuration means your pricing model, network, all these things. Because you are not buying a computer, you are renting a computer and getting a virtual access for that computer, right? So details related to that, how you want to buy, how many you want, in which place, that is network, in which availability zone, do you want it to keep it as public or private, and there are a lot other details at third step. Fourth is your hard disk. You can add as many as you want, and size also you can specify. And fifth is your security group, and you can this security relate this security group with network firewall in your computer. And the sixth, so in between this we have something called as tags, right? Tags. And seventh is review and create. And we have one more thing. When I say launch here, it will ask you to choose a key pair. Key pair is like your password to access this computer, virtual computer, and you have to download it. Let me create a new key pair. This is demo EC2 demo Linux key. You have to download it, and this download option will be available only once at the time of launch, and you have to keep it securely. Download key pair and launch instance. See, this instance is getting created. If you want to give it any name, so my first EC2, and it is running. And how to connect with it, we will talk about that in our tomorrow's session. And any doubts, guys, related to this session?
No, ma'am. Just the previous one. Any like where I can get that? I haven't attended on Friday's session.
Friday session is introduction. We have not talked about any technical things. What is cloud computing, its advantages and all. If there is a recorded session, I'll let you know. I'll ask our team to post it in WhatsApp group, not WhatsApp group, right? Is there any way to share? Is it possible to share or not? I have to check that.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. Okay then, guys. See you tomorrow. Take care, everyone. Bye bye. Ali, WhatsApp group. Yes, Ali. I actually, people who has registered registered to AWS course, the next procedure is they will get this LMS access and WhatsApp group. Keeping that in mind, I'm telling this because, and this is value add. I don't know what is procedure for value add sessions. You may not have WhatsApp group. I have to check what things you get. First, let me know what things you people will get in value add session, and we will talk about that in tomorrow's session. Okay. Okay, then see you tomorrow.